Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? Thank you for watching. I know it's been a while and everything, and I hope you all had an eventful New Year's as well as the other holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate. Yes, we're still saying Merry Christmas. You know, New Year's was pretty eventful for me. I did a little bit of traveling, got to see a few things and try some new stuff, and got to see friends and family that I haven't seen in a while. You know, I needed that little time away. Again, I hope it was really eventful for you. Welcome to 2025. It's now Martin Luther King Day, so let's pay our respects to Martin Luther King as well. And yes, it's Inauguration Day for Donald Trump. No, I didn't watch it, don't intend to watch it, don't even want to hear about it, you know. I'm sure I'm going to pick up snippets of it on the news, even independent media, and there'll be comedians out there not interested. You know, I know he prioritizes himself on clicks, views, and crowd sizes. I don't want to give him the satisfaction and everything. Yeah, maybe not the best way to start a new year, as some might argue, but it's just the way I feel. And there are a few things I wanted to talk about. I know, it's pretty chilly weather. It'd be nice if it was sunny out. I usually like to do this and it was warm. I just had to get this off my chest, is that the past few years when I've been doing content and stuff, lately I've been getting correspondence from people, you know. And for the most part, it's just designed not to bring anything positive as stuff. Now, I like talking to voters on both sides, regardless of who you support or what your values are. I always enjoy talking to other voters because I think it's, as long as we're having a healthy conversation, I try and be receptive and listen to them. And through the activism, I did some of that through phone banking, through canvassing, and some through social media. Some were friends, some were just total strangers. When the people were being rude and disrespectful, just making obnoxious remarks and everything, those I ignored. But some people who were trying to make a valid point or asking serious questions, at least trying to be a little open-minded, then I gave them the time. It's impossible to answer every single person you reach out to or that reaches out to you, but, you know, I do what I can. And people, someone said to me, they're like, we're surprised. They're like, you're pretty semi-respectful, you know, for a liberal. Truth be told, I tend to lean a little bit more progressive. There's similarities between the two, but there is a difference. But, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a liberal or conservative or, you know, Republican or Democrat or an independent. For the most part, we like to solve issues and solve problems. And I thought by putting out, you know, content that would help do it, trying to get a positive message across. But I've talked to other friends who are way more activists than I am, that do a lot more, go to school board meetings, you know, and attend other meetings, events, and are very, like, aggressive in their activism. And primarily from the right, and I'm not saying it's all just a right thing, it's left too, but from the right, they have received death threats, they've been bullied, they've been harassed. There have been people in the local area that have tried to get them fired from their jobs, that have tried to harass their family, you know, where they live. And that's where I kind of draw the line a little bit. Because it is unsettling that we reached a time. Now, let me be clear about this. I don't approve of political violence of any kind. If somebody from the left is doing it to people on the right, whether it be politicians or voters, you know, going harassing them, people wearing MAGA hats, I say that is wrong. I do not approve of it of any kind. How are we going to unite when we're so divided if your only option is to do something negative, to harass someone, to raise a fist, you know, to, you know, threaten someone? How is that going to solve any problems? You may not agree with everything I say. That's fine. But there is still some middle ground. There's still some common ground that we can find together. And that's the whole point. Some of the people that reached out, they made no effort so that I could respond to them. And you want to hear the truth? I would have responded. I would have just said, thank you for reaching out. I appreciate it. And just address whatever their comments were. Some were not really trying to be constructive. Some were just trying to be condescending. Some were just trying to harass. You know, the whole thing about, liberal tears, you know, we own the libs and stuff like that. I hear that all the time. What does that even mean, own the libs, owning? I mean, I know what it means, but what do you get out of it? That's the whole point. I mean, one, Donald Trump is now the president. Congratulations. You got your wish. And on the flip side, like, you know, owning MAGA or MAGA tears in my cup, I don't believe in that either. Why? Because it doesn't solve any issues. That's my point. Back in 2020, I didn't put out any posts like that. I didn't reach out to my MAGA friends and say anything or make any comments. This year, some friends, some did, some family members, which I shut that down immediately. I said, stop, what are you doing? And they understood, because I take this thing seriously, because I care about people, because I care about my country. I believe some of you wholeheartedly thought that voting for Donald Trump and getting him elected president again would somehow solve problems. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, I've gone by some of the things that they've said, and, and again, my feeling is, what are you going to get out of this whole thing? Now, I'm going by some of the things that the Republicans and that Donald Trump has said in the recent past, as what he intends to do. We all heard about the mass deportations. We all heard about the tax cuts and the tariffs and everything like that. Whether or not that actually happens, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm just going to wait and see. Am I a little discouraged? Yeah. But I didn't shed any tears this time. I didn't get all emotional. There's no point to it. Some did, and I understand why, but that's just not my style. But again, the whole owning the thing, like, we own the libs now. It boils down to the simple question, what do you get in the end? And there's no real way to answer that. I'm thinking down the road when things actually start to happen. Okay? Now, a lot of the big concerns are about the economy and the price of eggs. Okay? One friend responded to me like, oh, don't worry, Don's going to unite everything and this and that, and it's going to be only male and female genders. Like transgender was such a big issue that, for those of you complaining about it, there might be a very slim chance that when you went to a public bathroom, there was a transgender person in there, and you had no idea. And they just went, took care of business, and left. So that whole thing was just a distraction. It's the fact that half the country has supported someone, a person of wealth, who has a history of grifting. We see the grifting, and now he's aligned himself with other wealthy people. President Musk over here is now in talks with I meant Elon Musk. I get the two mixed up. Bad joke. All kidding aside, Mike Johnson had put out a statement, when they actually avoided the government shutdown. He said he had talks with Elon Musk. Why are you having talks with Elon Musk? He's not an elected official. He's not a lawmaker. He's not a politician. He's got nothing to do with anything. You just gave Donald Trump a large sum of money. But yet somehow he now has the president here, and he has considerable influence. I've heard at one point he may want to buy TikTok. I don't know if that's true or not, but he's already turned Twitter into pretty much a right-wing cesspool, to the point that people on the right that are opposed to him but that support Trump, like Laura Loomer and others, he's shutting down their accounts. I think he did it to Steve Bannon too. For once in my life, I actually agree with Steve Bannon. That's not to say I'm giving him any credit or anything, but now we're turning into more like an oligarch, of a country, where the wealthy are always in charge. And things like pride flags like woke and transgender and, migrants eating animals, it is all just a distraction. It's more about wealthy people wanting to, change things for their own benefit. And they got enough wealth already, so why do they need to do more? Why? Because it's a power thing for them. That's all. We can do it, we can put more restrictions and a stranglehold on the working class, so why not? Mark Zuckerberg's gotten on board where they're not going to fact check on Facebook anymore. Oh, because who needs facts, right? And Jeff Bezos, Amazon, is giving $40 million to Melania Trump to do a documentary on her. Like she's got something to say that's so interesting that would merit a $40 million paycheck. Let's be honest here, for those of you who are quick to jump to her defense. What if Jill Biden did that back in 2020? Got paid, a large sum of, I may be off on the dollar amount, but paid her a lot of money to do a documentary on her. Would you think there's nothing shady going on there? I don't think so. Okay, if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris were selling all this merchandise, from perfume to sneakers to NFTs to, all this other ridiculous merchandise, Bibles, would you not think that that's a little shady, that, as a politician, they shouldn't be doing that? Donald Trump does it all the time, and you guys don't bat an eye. In fact, you like to buy this stuff. Hey, you have money, spend all your money, spend it on whatever you want, but it's still a grift. So, when these wealthy people start to unite and start doing tax cuts for the wealthy, which they will heavily reap the rewards from, and your taxes go up, what then? Are you going to call Donald Trump out on it, or are you going to make excuses for him, just like you all did back in 16 through 2020? That was the one thing, all the back and forth. No matter how bad behavior, the racism, the misogyny, the bad decision making, certain conflicts, the drone strikes, the trying to build a wall, it was always an excuse, no matter what. The day Donald said he would win the election, he would make a phone call to Putin and would end the war in Ukraine. Well, that didn't happen, obviously. But I don't see you guys bringing that up. I'm sure you'll have an excuse for that too. What did Vladimir Putin do? He put out a commercial showing nude photos of Melania Trump. To me, that's just Vladimir Putin looking, saying, "Yeah, Don, I did that. I put up nude photos of your wife. What are you going to do about it?" I'm not trying to drum up tension or anything and stuff like that, but again, look at it the reverse. What if he did that in 2020, put up obscene photos of Jill Biden, and Joe Biden didn't respond or do anything? Would you see that as a sign of strength or as a sign of weakness? Let's be honest here. I'm really asking you to stop and think a moment rather than just jump to the initial, I'm going to defend Donald Trump no matter what. Because 16 through 20, it's exactly what it was. Just constantly excuses, which begs the simple question. If he is that strong of a leader, if he is that powerful, why do you need to make excuses for him? Shouldn't his actions speak for themselves? If bad things actually start to happen, if like the prices or the inflation doesn't go down but actually goes up because of tariffs, which I don't think he still understands how tariffs work. If your taxes go up a year from now, because he'll put his tax cuts, and that won't obviously happen this season, but it will happen in the next tax season. What then? Are you going to call out the bad behavior, stuff like that? If the mass deportations have an impact on the economy, a negative impact, are you going to call that out on it too? He's not just talking about deporting, undocumented or illegals. Basically any person with, any people of color, any migrant. What, you think Steve Miller is going to make a distinction between, someone who came into the country legally or not? No. The guy's a racist. So is Trump. They don't care. Elon Musk is an immigrant. Some of you seem okay with him. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. He's white and he's got a lot of money. So that makes it different. It's only those poor brown immigrants that we want to get rid of. There are serious problems. Do I think the border is a problem? Yes. Do I think it needs solving? Absolutely. Do I think Joe Biden could have done a better job of solving it? Absolutely. But locking kids in cages, mass deportations, that's not the answer. And here's the kicker about everything I'm saying. Even though I have absolutely no faith in Donald Trump, never did. And I said this before, I'll repeat it. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope he succeeds. I want him to succeed. Not for him, not for his ego, not so we can gloat on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. But so that he succeeds for the American people. If he actually ends the war and the conflict in Gaza and brings home all the hostages, awesome. I'll give him credit. If he manages to somehow solve the border issue, with little or no trouble, awesome. I'm all for it. If he brings down crime or he brings down inflation, does all these good things, awesome. I'm for it. I may never like the guy, but at least give credit where credit's due. But I don't think that's going to happen. So for now, I'm just going to wait and see. But like I said, goes back to my original question. For all you who are saying, we're owning the libs now, what are you going to do when things start to go bad for you? Because some people are already having doubts. There's certain migrants out there, Latinos for Trump, who feel like, it may come back and impact them, these mass deportations. There are blacks for Trumps who are now having second thoughts. What'd you expect? Look at Tim Scott and Byron Donalds still licking his boots, hoping they're going to get some kind of a job or position. You're getting nothing. You never were going to get anything. You sold your souls and your people out for nothing. When the price of eggs doesn't go down, what then? Are you actually going to call that out and reconsider? Maybe make changes during the midterms? Or are you just going to keep making excuses? In the end, the choice is up to you, but I'm just pointing out some of the realities. So with that being said, I'm going to start making a little less content and focusing on other efforts. I'm not giving up. I'm not going to stop making content altogether, but with all the backlash and the back and forth, it's unfortunate because I'm always willing to talk to people and at the very least, listen. If you have something intelligent to say or you have a point to make up, I'd be curious to hear about it. But some people aren't like that. Some people are okay with the violence, as long as it doesn't happen to them or anyone on their side. Mike Johnson complained about death threats to like Elise Stefanik and Nancy Mace, who are two very unpleasant people. I agree, that shouldn't be happening. Did Mike Johnson have anything to say when Nancy Pelosi's house was attacked and her husband got assaulted? I don't think so. Do you have anything to say about January 6th other than we need to move on? Move on? Really? I would love to see Mike Johnson go to 9/11 in 2025, September 11th, go to New York City and talk to the mayor and the governor and members of the NYPD and FDNY and all the families to the first responders and the people that died and said, guys, 9/11, it's been a while. We need to move on. See how that works out for you. Obviously, no, don't do that because that would be stupid and I don't want to wish violence, but you get my point. We need to focus on January 6th. And too many of you decided to put an insurrectionist and a convicted felon who's been guilty of rape back in the White House who has a history of grifting. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope only good things happen. But if they don't, then we need to take responsibility for it. If you're not going to, fine. The other half of the country will. I'm still going to stay active and do other things, I make content about stuff that's not related to politics, like just traveling and experiences and places to visit, but also about charity work that I've been doing. I did a very little bit during December. I helped out for an organization that ran an event for cerebral palsy. I made some donations, for the recent wildfires that have been happening and encouraging people not to politicize them. And there's some other things I have in mind. Still going to do blood donations and stuff like that and talk about that, But I'm just trying to avoid the backlash because there's a lot more important things going on. If people aren't willing to talk, if they're only going to resort to violence, it's not worth, putting your neck on the line. I'm even surprised that somebody would even consider me, considering on TikTok I have under 2,000 followers. On YouTube I have less than 200 followers. I am small potatoes. There are other people out there that have way more vast audiences that stand with me. It's not because we want to be like define and defy Trump, but we want to see people do the right thing and help Americans. That to me is the message I'm always putting out. I'm actually saying we need to help other Americans, the working class, not the rich, not the oligarchs. Still believe in upholding our democracy and trying to do the right thing, based on charity, based on working together to mean the people. Yeah, the Dems and the Rebs got to work together, but not if it's just going to be like mass deportations and putting in inappropriate people like Pete Hegseth or Dr. Mehmet Oz, who would have conflicts of interest of healthcare. Yeah, that too. They've said they wanted to make cuts to healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. When they do that, are you going to make excuses or are you going to call it out? In the end, you can make all the excuses what you want, but when bad things happen and it impacts you, you have only yourself to blame. I can at least look in the mirror and say, I voted against it. Not to try and be defiant, but to do the right thing. Do the right thing, please. That's what I encourage. So, anyway, thanks for watching. I really hope you understand.